Senator Cornyn, welcome back to the program here. The shutdown is dragging on. President Trump leaving for Asia. No end in sight. How long do you expect this to last?
Well, it's really up to Democrats who refuse to conduct the Senate's business while there are many important things for us to be attending to, but now for 21, I guess going on 22 days, they've simply been uncooperative. This used to be fairly routine to pass a short-term stopgap spending bill to allow us to complete our work before the end of the year. But I must say this is completely unnecessary, but I think this is more designed to appease their base than it is to anything else, because nothing else really makes sense.
Do you see any room for compromise between the two?
Well, the compromise would be to open the government and then let's talk business. They say that they're doing this to focus the attention on health care, which we all admit is a very important issue. And with the Affordable Care or Obamacare premiums, notices getting ready to go out, I think they see this as an opportunity to talk about health care. We're happy to have that conversation, but they need to open the government first. We can't allow them to get away with holding all of the federal employees, including the uniformed military, the Border Patrol, and all federal employees hostage for their ridiculous demands.
Senator, how do you think this ends? You've been up there for a while. You know how the politics goes. How does this end?
Well, I suppose the Democrats are going to need some sort of face-saving device to be able to acknowledge the reality, which is they're losing this argument. We call this a Schumer shutdown because Senator Schumer is afraid to cut a deal to reopen the government because he's afraid that AOC and the progressives in his base will throw him overboard, which may happen anyway. But I think eventually that hopefully cooler heads will prevail and we'll reopen the government. We've got important work to do before the end of the year. As I mentioned, the Affordable Care subsidies, the enhanced subsidies that were supercharged during the Biden administration expire at the end of this year. Again, we're happy to have that conversation, but we need to reopen the government first.
If those subsidies expire, whether at the end of the year or whether, it's part of the negotiations here, healthcare costs are going to go up for Texans and Americans everywhere. Is that something Republicans want on their shoulders as you go into 2026?
Well, unfortunately, those subsidies need reform. These are not the original Obamacare subsidies that passed when that bill passed into law. These were supercharged during COVID-19, basically lifting the cap on earnings in order to qualify. So people making well over $500,000 a year are getting free health care courtesy of the American taxpayer. That's certainly not what was intended. Plus, insurance companies are really milking this cash cow by threatening to raise premiums as much as 18%. Wall Street Journal has reported that employer-based health care is going up 6 to 7%. To me, there's something terribly wrong with the fact that insurance companies are gouging the consumer and the federal government and demanding 18% increase. That is unsustainable. So that's something that bears further investigation and debate.
Let's talk 2026 here for a moment. You've closed the gap on Ken Paxton in public polls. At least you have Congressman Wesley Hunt from Houston now in the race. What do you think the biggest challenge is going forward in the remaining 4 or 5 months here?
Well, Congressman Hunt can't win if you believe any of the polls. He comes in a distant third. And so I believe this race is really between me and the Attorney General. And I think two things that we are in the process of doing is, number one, reminding people about my voting record with President Trump, which is in excess of 99%. And just reminding them of that fact and the things we've done together that we've done to support the president's agenda. But then also, at some point, we'll begin turning up the heat on the Attorney General and exposing a lot of the scandals that he's been involved with for many years now, but he's simply gotten away with. I think he feels like he's immune from any of that scrutiny, but I believe that character still matters, and I'm confident of the outcome.
And you say turning up the heat. What will that look like?
Well, stories like we saw in the Wall Street Journal recently, where Ken Paxton, earning a government salary, became amazingly over a few years a multimillionaire, and including the sale of a business that had contracts with the state of Texas while he was Attorney General, undisclosed, by the way, to the public or ethics officials. So there's a website you've seen called crookedken.com, which is updated regularly. And really, what's so amazing to me is there's more and more information turning up all the time. Ken Paxton's become reckless to the point now he's self-destructive of his family, to his family, to taxpayers, and I believe he's unfit for this office, and we will tell that story.
We've all seen your ads and your record of voting with the president 99% of the time. What's the 1% you haven't voted with the president on?
I can't really tell you for sure. It may have been some. Well, I can't tell you for sure. Maybe we'll go back and try to figure that out. But the point has been, some people have said, well, Cornyn's an establishment guy. He's been there a long time. He's not really MAGA. He's not really a Trump supporter. Well, I worked hand in glove with the president during his first administration and continue that work now to help make sure his agenda gets passed, including the confirmation of hundreds of federal judges, including 3 new members of the United States Supreme Court. So I'm proud of my record working with President Trump. We've got a good relationship, and I'm just think it's been necessary to tell that story in order to refute some of the disinformation about my record of working with the president.
Do you expect this race to go to a runoff now that there are 3 Republicans running in it?
Well, of course, there's always a chance of that, but at some point, President Trump may decide to weigh in and make an endorsement. I talked to him as recently as yesterday about that, but he likes to see a good fight, and we promised to show him that fight. But at some point, he may decide that he will make an endorsement. He knows, we've discussed, that if he makes an endorsement, this primary is essentially over. And I'm optimistic that he would endorse me, but he's not ready to do it yet, and I certainly respect his timetable. And meanwhile, we're not taking our foot off the gas.
We had Congressman Hunt on the program last week, and he took direct aim at you, not talking about Ken Paxton, but it was all about John Cornyn. One comment he has made is, I'm sure you've heard, he says the U.S. Senate should not serve as a retirement home, a direct shot at you. I'm curious how you respond to that as you seek a 5th term there in D.C. in the U.S. Senate.
Well, I think the congressman's a little frustrated because he doesn't have a positive case for his election, and he's got no credible path to win, so he throws out crazy talk like that. Look, I'm no spring chicken, I admit that, but I'm healthy and enjoy the job. And look, I work hand in glove with a 79-year-old at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue who seems to be doing just fine too. So I just think that the congressman's looking for attention. Most people in Texas don't know who he is. This is a big state, and it's hard to get name ID. And I think he's going to find how tough the race can be, and also how big our state is when he's running now in an election statewide.
Let me ask you about a few significant headlines happening in D.C. that we're all watching here in Texas. First is reports that President Trump is demanding the Justice Department pay him $230 million for the investigations into him in his first term and between 2020 and 2024. I'm curious what your reaction to this is, and does it concern you ethically?
Well, we're trying to confirm that. We certainly heard that rumor, but to my knowledge, the president has not made a specific request. What I can tell you is the president has been targeted by his political opponents for years now. First with this phony Russian hoax and the effort that James Comey tried to destroy him by getting a special counsel appointed. And we know that in the end, it was all part of the Hillary Clinton opposition research that was leaked to the press and that they were complicit with. So The president has been, I think, treated very unfairly by the Biden administration, their Justice Department, and I don't blame him for feeling like there ought to be some consequences associated with that. But I'm going to wait to see whether there ever is a specific request and be able to give you maybe a better answer at that time.
And if he does request any amount of money, is that something you would support from the Treasury?
Well, like I said, I'm going to wait and see whether there ever is such a request, as opposed to just a rumor, and what it consists of.
We've all seen the images of the demolition of the east wing of the White House there. No legally required public review process has apparently taken place. There's a lot of preservationists who are really concerned about what's happening there. What are your thoughts on that? Are you okay with what's happening?
I think it's true that most presidents have made modifications at the White House. Barack Obama built a basketball court. And there have been a number of modifications made over time. The president wants to have a place where he can entertain foreign dignitaries and others in a larger ballroom than currently exists, and he's willing to pay for it. Taxpayers won't pay a penny. So I'm fine with him doing that. I'm sure it'll be a first-class operation, and I think it will enhance the function and the usability of the White House for official purposes.
Last question here, I'll let you run, Senator. President Trump is targeting boats in the Caribbean and in the Pacific. These are people that his administration has labeled enemy combatants. These are drug cartels, according to the administration. You're a law and order guy, having served on the state Supreme Court, Attorney General as well. Do those individuals deserve their day in court, or should this continue with the U.S. military shooting these boats and the people inside them?
Well, for many years now, we've seen these cartels ship their poison into the United States and take the lives of tens of thousands of innocent Texans and other Americans. And no one has been able to come up with an effective model for how to deal with that. And it's clearly the law enforcement model, which typically would require an arrest and a court appearance and the like. A lot of the rights that American citizens have certainly don't apply to foreigners. And I think the president is operating within his constitutional authority to stop these cartels from shipping this poison that's killed tens of thousands of Americans over the years. I think he's within his authority. So I'm not concerned about that. I am glad that the president is stepping up and taking the threat posed by the cartels in Mexico and South America seriously. He's the first president to do that, to my knowledge. And I support that effort.
Senator, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
You bet. Good to be with you. Thanks.